The U.S. Open the USGA has awarded the U.S. Open to first-time hosts a few times in recent years. We remember Tiger at Torrey Pines. We wish him well. And then Kiowa, that was the PGA Championship. That was a runaway. And that obviously was not the USGA awarding that. That was the PGA of America. And the U.S. Open at Chambers Bay in the state of Washington, Spieth, in that bizarre thriller over Dustin Johnson. Well, Mike Herdsden, Dr. Mike Herdsden, has had a career in golf course architecture spanning more than 5 decades. Courses on 5 different continents, holder of a bachelor's, master's, PhD. He has received some of the game's highest honors, including the Donald Ross and Old Tom Morris Awards. And after playing college golf at the University of Arizona, Dana Fry moved into what has become a distinguished career in architecture. First worked for Tom Fazio, then partnered with Dr. Herdsden for 15 years, currently partnered with Jason Straka at the Fry-Straka team. They've done some outstanding work. Then Ron Whitten has covered golf course architecture for Golf Digest since 1985, so many of you have read him through the years. And he was asked to join the Herdsden Fry team 17 years ago as designer of the course that would become Erin Hills. And what a project this has been, what an achievement. And we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Herdsden, Dana Fry, and Ron Whitten. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Congratulations. What a wonderful piece of work this is. How does it strike you now that your little boy's taking his first steps? It's here at the U.S. Open.
Well, it's unbelievably exciting. You know, when you can't actually, it's like leading up to Christmas, and it just gets more exciting with each day that we come. And now we see the condition of the golf course, because you have a little bit of intrepidation about maybe condition or how the players are going to react to it. But so far, everything is going along well. So the excitement is building. Dana,
you went around the golf course for several rounds with Rory McIlroy and Justin Rose, a couple of former U.S. Open champions. What was their reaction?
I had some correspondence through Rory's agent with about meeting up with Rory when he got here. So I've been around with him on the golf course 3 different times and talked at great length about it. For me personally, as a golfer, one of the great thrills was Rory walked at me on the 6th green and he said, everything you said was true. I love this golf course. And that made me feel pretty positive, because you've got one of the great players in the world that believes in it.
Ron, we just had that discussion about 8,000-yard golf courses. What was your reaction to what Brandel and Frank had to say?
They made us sound like geniuses. I really appreciate that. When we first set out to design this course, we were trying to build the best public golf course that we could. It was only in 2004 when Mike Davis showed up and walked the property with us that we really thought we could host the U.S. Open. And we picked his brain about what we could do. And I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I kind of knew from that point on we had a real shot at it. And so the pressure was on us to build something that could be still playable for the average public golfer from the proper set of tees, and yet challenge the best golfers in ways that really hadn't been done. We were trying to seek some different sort of golf holes and a different philosophy. I like to think we did it, but we're going to find out this week.
And Dana, 8,000 yards. I think a lot of people will be taken aback by that suggestion or possibility. You're comfortable with
going off what Brandel said here. I watched Rory McIlroy in back-to-back days on the 18th hole, 675 yards. Driver 5 wood, 5 yards off the green, pin high. The next day, driver 3 wood with a different tailwind, and he was 5 yards.
So the answer is yes, 8,000 yards.
8,000 yards.
Again, not for Joe Average out there,
Certainly not for
but
Joe
to identify the best players in the world. Dr. Herdsden, trees. We see very few trees out here. I know my father's generation, they were in love with trees. Who didn't like a tree-lined golf course? There's a much different philosophy. What kind of battle did you have to fight with Bob Lang on the issue of trees?
Well, you know, the trees, when the early golf courses, in the early part of 1900, golf courses were laid out pretty much in open fields, and there were very few.
Like Oakmont?
No trees, exactly.
Yeah.
And so over the years, we got into this mania, particularly after World War II, of planting trees, and then we got carried away, and then we realized that the game had lost some of its elements, and that is the ability to hit the ball pretty far left or right, and not worry about being the trees, allow the wind to come in. And so trees were actually becoming a narrow frame for the golf holes instead of allowing a strategy to develop. So I think removing the trees, we think some of them should have stayed perhaps, but overall getting rid of trees improved the strategy and it improves the sustainability of the golf course.
Now, Rich, I definitely got to interject there because I definitely was the champion of tree removal here. I, from day one, argued vehemently with Bob about removing trees, and it was tough because he was very attached to them, and it was literally a tree-by-tree process. And it's not that I dislike trees, it's just that I think the star of Erin Hills is the land, and the trees were covering up the land.
Which holes, Ron, will be the stars this week, do you think? 2 or 3 holes you think
I think
remember?
the second hole is going to be very unusual. They've never seen anything quite like that little eggshell green, and it's short enough that they may try to drive the green and get it up and down, or they may try to play way back so they can spin a wedge into it. It's a very hard target to hit. The 15th hole is another very short par 4 that you can play as 2 par 3s, or you can try to go for it. I think the 4th hole is going to be surprisingly difficult. It's probably the most difficult approach shot on the course because it's a horizon green that sits there and you know there's wetlands right behind it. It's 12 paces deep on the right. If the pin's over there, it's a sucker pin. You better play left and take your 30-footer. And, of course, the 9th hole, which is Dana's favorite hole. That's, the caddies call it the toughest par 5 in golf. Yeah.
From day one, I've always thought the 9th hole was the best hole in this golf course, and I believe in it so strongly.
Describe it for
Well, it's a
our viewers.
135 to 165-yard shot, depending on which tee you played. Drops downhill about 30 feet. It's surrounded by 7 bunkers. The most diabolical pin on the hole by far is the very front pin position because there's a false front, which you're looking at now, about the first 15, 20 feet of the green that slopes towards the player. Then the rest of the green slopes away and back and to the right. And that green is it's about 5,500 square feet, but it's a very long, narrow green. And it's a really difficult hole when you get an east-to-west wind. If they get that left-to-right wind or the west wind right to left, you have to hit the ball accordingly with the spin into the wind, or the ball's not going to stay on the green.
Right.
It's really difficult.
Players are talking about that ball's hitting a certain spot and we'll come back. And
The other thing,
The false front, if you hit that false front, that ball literally will come back, goes down in a little trough, and it ends up in a trough in a bunker that's that wide.
we love those moments as fans, by the way. There's almost nothing sadder in golf than that long 20 seconds when you know the ball's coming back.
Yeah, it sure is. It's
and you guys must relish that as architects. You have to inflict a little bit of pain on the player.
I just like the fact that it's a pitching wedge.
Yeah.
And it literally strikes terror into great players.
How about the soil here? What makes it so good for golf?
It's not so good, actually.
No.
It's when the glacier left, it mixed up all kinds of rocks and sand and soil and silt and clay. And so there's a real mixture out there. But the fescue grasses are really well adapted to those kinds of conditions. And so the less water, fertilizer, and pesticide you give them, the better they maintain themselves in the outer rough. Now, in the fairways, yes, we need to go ahead and push those a little bit. But when we built this golf course, we didn't till anything. We just killed the existing plant vegetation. We seeded right into the mat that was there, and that's why this golf course has little undulations that you could never build into a golf course because they're just natural. And the only place you're going to see that is maybe the old course at St. Andrews and some old courses like that. So some of the subtle undulations in the fairway going to make this very interesting as well.
You've made it choice turf. Mike Davis of the USGA was raving about it. You guys have done marvelous work here, lifetime achievement. Congratulations, and we'll all sit back and watch and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Dana and Ron Whitten, thank you so much. 3 architects here at Erin Hills. Some ominous skies, rain in the forecast throughout the week. It's a shower here and a shower there. We'll have much more as we get you prepared for the 117th U.S. Open from Wisconsin in just a moment.